Hello again. Now, Gauteng residents were shocked to wake up yet to another 2.98 magnitude seismic event in the south of Johannesburg on Saturday evening. This follows an earlier earthquake that occurred in Boksburg about a month ago. The Council for Geoscience is investigating whether mining in the area or changes in groundwater levels could have caused that quake. While South Africa has not experienced frequent earthquakes, it is at risk. Head of Retail Strategic Accounts at Old Mutual Insure, Molebatsi Langa, is advising policyholders to verify with their insurers whether they are indeed covered for earthquake risk. She joins us now to speak more about this. Molebatsi, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. Your actuaries, what are they telling you? Are we at risk of more earthquakes? Are they now factoring that risk in their calculations?
Good afternoon, Dan, and thank you for having us. Well, it is a risk that is very much here with us. We cannot turn a blind eye and think that it's a once-off event. Fortunately or unfortunately, large earthquakes that are caused by the natural movement of tectonic plates in South Africa are quite rare, with the most destructive having been in 1969, which ranged at about 6.3 on the Richter scale. We have seen in most recent times, or experienced rather, the Orkney earthquake that happened in the Klerksdorp areas, that was about 5.5, and the Boksburg earthquake that you mentioned that ranged at about 4.4. It is a risk that is very much with us, and as an insurance industry, the biggest concern for us is really around the frequency and the severity at which we are experiencing earthquakes as a result of mining activities.
And we can't tell when the next one is coming. So what are you advising your clients? Yeah, what advice can you give? What types of cover would be there specifically to address earthquake-related damages or losses?
So we encourage our homeowners and consumers alike to make sure that the home cover that they have, covering either their building or their contents, includes earthquake cover. If it does not include earthquake cover, we really do urge them to speak to their brokers, speak to the insurance company to find out how they can have this cover either included into their standard insurance policies, or if they can take it on as a standalone or an extension onto the current cover that they have. In some parts of the world, like America as an example, you've got specific cover that is called earthquake insurance, which would cover exactly that, and it can be taken out as a standalone policy or cover. It's something that we need to be conscious of, and generally, consumers need to be aware of the terms and conditions of their policies to ensure that they understand what their policy covers and what it doesn't cover.
So there could be a current policy, or they could go specific with an earthquake insurance. What kind of factors are considered in determining the cost of such earthquake insurance?
Sure, Dan, without getting into a very technical discussion, I think our actuaries would be able to give you a whole horde and a myriad of factors that get considered when pricing for insurance cover. But I'll give our consumers a couple of points that they need to be aware of. So your geographical location is significant in determining your premiums, as some areas may be more prone to earthquakes and tremors than others. The type of building that you have, so in other words, the structure, how the materials that have been used to construct your building. If the materials can withstand seismic activities, you may have lower premiums as a result, as compared to buildings that are made with materials that are vulnerable to earthquake damage. There's another consideration is around the age of your building. Older buildings might be more susceptible to earthquake damage than perhaps newer ones.
Yeah, as you're talking there, we were showing our viewers the visual of that explosion downtown Johannesburg on Lillian Ngoyi Street, formerly Bristol. That was not an earthquake, but such events, of course, you can't plan for. But from an earthquake perspective, what is the claim process? I mean, you've mentioned some areas that have had earthquakes, Milnerton in Cape Town some years ago, and also recently here in Gauteng, we've seen them. And now we're also seeing these underground explosions.
Yes, absolutely. You know, the claim process can vary depending on the severity of the earthquake and how severely our homeowners or consumers have been impacted. You would imagine that, you know, with a more catastrophic event, insurers would have to adapt and evolve, at least in how we address a situation of that sort and how we assist our policyholders in lodging their claims and making sure that they are in a safe place. And you know, if it's something slightly smaller, like what we saw in Boksburg, if you had a couple of items that fell off the shelves, as an example, and nothing too serious that happened to your property, you may have to follow a general process of filling in a claim form or informing your broker or insurance company telephonically to advise them, or at least to let them know that you have been impacted by this incident, and then the process will take the appropriate course.
Yeah, I was just thinking about downtown Johannesburg. I mean, it was not an earthquake, but there are buildings there. I mean, the road infrastructure has been severely damaged. So what kind of other considerations do you think would you suggest, or recommendations would you suggest for homeowners who reside in those high-risk areas to do?
So a couple of things, Dan, and one aspect that we really drive and try to encourage our consumers and policyholders on a regular basis is to make sure that they perform or conduct regular maintenance to their homes. You know, if there's a crack that's starting to become a problem, address the issues and don't wait for a catastrophic event to happen. And it's important to make sure that your home is in a suitable condition. If you live in a high-risk area, consider getting an engineer to assess your home to ensure that the structural integrity of your home is sound. And should the assessment of your home come back with various recommendations on what you can do to improve the structural integrity of your home, we really urge our consumers and policyholders to adhere to these. It may become costly depending on the severity or what the risk looks like, but it's really an investment that you can make today to ensure that you protect your property in the future, as well as possibly save lives.
Yeah, okay. I know we called you about this earthquake insurance stuff, but while I have you, I mean, because you are a senior manager there at Old Mutual short-term insurance business, did you get lots of claims? Are you aware if there were lots of claims from Lillian Ngoyi Street, formerly known as Bree Street, after last week's explosions?
At this stage, then, we are still assessing the severity and collating all of the data that we can get. You know, when an event of this nature happens, it creates a lot of shock, a lot of trauma. A lot of us are still asking ourselves what happened and how could this have been prevented. So we are taking the time to collate all of the information as policyholders contact us, as our brokers inform us of any of their clients that have been impacted. So I'm sure that in the near future, we would be able to share that information with more certainty.
Yeah, because I would guess, this is a big guess, that some of the residents and businesses along that area, or anywhere downtown Johannesburg, never foresaw such an explosion. And maybe their existing policies, if any of them are Old Mutual clients, do not even cover this kind of scenario. Would Old Mutual be open-minded in assisting them?
You know, Dan, as previously mentioned, when we have a catastrophic event, you may recall with the recent floods that have happened, and with the riots that happened in 2021, insurance companies came together, and it's not really just an Old Mutual Insure perspective, but insurance companies came together to lend a helping hand to customers, policyholders, and the general public that were impacted. So, you know, with an event of this nature, we really do try, as a business, being Old Mutual Insure, to put in the necessary measures to ensure that policyholders and the general public are taken care of, and at least in a safer environment than what they were previously in. And when the call comes out for us to do something to really put in everything that we possibly can to ensure that we safeguard the livelihoods of the public and our policyholders, we will certainly do that.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Molebatsi Langa, Head of Retail Strategic Accounts at Old Mutual Insure.